Unlocked and into the dark. So what's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. She's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Just illusion, manifestation, or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello. Hello. This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness, this is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave, hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, May 13th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is the 1-year celebration of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. That's right. We have made it a full year as of today, and I cannot believe it. I am just absolutely mind-boggled that we've been able to do these shows for you, 2 shows a week, every week, for the last year. Well, last 6 months we've done 2 shows a week, right? But I am absolutely honored to do these for you guys, and it's a true pleasure. And we're going to dig into the history so far of the DarkWolf's Den Show tonight. So stick around. We're going to try to have a great time and celebrate the 1-year mark here on this channel and on this show. It's going to be a great time, but first, today in history. I love when I find a today in history that kind of matches up with what's going on the show, and this is no different. On this day in 1940, Winston Churchill, being the Prime Minister at the time, gave his first speech to that British House of Commons, in which he says, and I quote, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat," end quote. And that's what we do around here. We have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat, and we're able to put them together every week and make amazing episodes for you guys. So I thought that was quite fitting for this episode, and that is today's Today in History. And even that segment itself came from something I did when I first started YouTube. When I first started YouTube, I had a show with a guy named Unirock. And we used to do something called the Rockinati Show. And the beginning of every one of those, I would do that Today in History thing. And it just kind of stuck and became a thing. So when I started this show, it's definitely something I knew that I wanted to keep in the show. It's something that I absolutely enjoy. But how did I end up with a radio show? I have asked myself that a number of times. And it was really a strange story how it all happened. Sorry, I'm trying to move my microphone around. Sorry about that sound. But yeah, it was a really odd story how that happened. So I had a YouTube channel for a couple of years at that point, and I was getting a new microphone. And the only reason I was getting a new microphone was just to upgrade the mic I had. I had no other plans but just upgrading to a cooler mic so I could sound better on YouTube. And for those that don't know, I'm going to give away a dirty little secret of radio. Pretty much all pilot episodes are pre-recorded. Not all of them, but a good majority of pilot episodes that you're going to see or hear are usually pre-recorded episodes. Just because, it's the pilot episode, it's a concept show. And what I had done is I had went on my creation program and I had recorded a show for YouTube, but I had recorded sort of a radio style, but just goofing with the new mic, And I told my friend AJ, you guys know AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, I told him about it. I said, hey, I got this new microphone and I made some new shows I'd really like you to listen to before I put them out. He said, well, you haven't released it yet? No. He said, well, don't release it. What do you mean? He said, I'll put it on the radio. Oh, you're going to put it on your show? He said, no, you don't understand. What time slot do you want? I'm sorry, what? It blew my mind. He had gotten clearance to giving me a time slot offer. Oh, my goodness. So, of course, once I had finally calmed down and realized that this wasn't a joke, it was dead serious, I very politely accepted the offer, and we went to work on what I had done to try to make it radio worthy. And we did the best we could, but like I said last night, it didn't age well. Our pilot episode is not our best episode by any means whatsoever. But on May 13th, a year ago today, we aired that pilot episode for you guys. It was a half hour. It wasn't even an hour episode, right? I didn't even have that much to talk about. And what I did talk about, I had a lot of breaks in, right? We've come a long, long way. I had to learn how to talk on the radio. I had to learn how to find engagement with you guys, right? And we've built a heck of an engaging community here in the last year. Just with the DarkWolf's Den Show. We've built an amazing community here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, but the DarkWolf's Den Show has built a community all its own, and we're so glad to have every last one of you guys here every week. It's truly an honor to see you guys. And, we cover paranormal topics, and that's something I've always wanted to cover. For all my life, 28 years, let's be clear, since I was 12 years old, majority of my life, I have been obsessed with the paranormal. I've studied and studied and studied most aspects of the paranormal. I've looked into so many case files, and it's always intrigued me. And I've always wanted to match science and the paranormal. But of course, that's no easy feat. But that's what my goal has always been, to show that paranormal is merely science that we just have not figured out yet. Sorry, I was looking at something there. It's just science we have not figured out yet. And that I truly believe that. And I've, like I said, studied it for 28 years. So when he did offer me the show, I had a couple options. I could have went with just Mandela Effect, but I think I would have run out of stuff to talk to that quickly. But I do know a lot of other paranormal. So I said, well, I want to follow in the footsteps of the giants of this industry. I want to stand on the shoulders of giants like Art Bell, like Dave Schrader. I can never remember which one that is. I apologize, Dave, if you ever hear this. Like George Norrie. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Like him or dislike him, he's still a giant in the world of paranormal radio. And to have the honor to join the ranks of people of that stature, even of people like AJ, that just really, it was heartwarming and mind-blowing to me. It's somewhere that I never thought I'd see myself. The other funny thing is, I never liked my voice. I know that sounds funny. A lot of you guys really enjoy listening to my voice every week. But ironically, for the longest time, I did not. And I think everybody dislikes their own voice, especially at first. But when I first started YouTube, before I started YouTube, I almost didn't even do that. Because I thought I was going to make people's ears bleed with my voice. I really did. And it would come to being accepted in a group of people that I considered YouTube celebrities that actually changed my mind. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and make a YouTube channel. I can always tear it down if it fails. Clearly, it did not. And it's funny that it's led this far to using my voice to talk about the paranormal every week, to bring to a newer generation of people, I do hope, the ability to understand and know the paranormal, to get people involved and engaged more so in paranormal research, in paranormal studies, in the magic that really exists all around us, right? There's a lot of magic that exists around us, and that's what we cover on this show. Like our pilot episode about cryptids. Last night we did the Congo cryptids as a kind of an homage to our pilot episode, which aired a year ago tonight once again, which was about cryptids. Bigfoot and Loch Ness and all these different creatures that exist that science says don't exist. And then we went over a bunch of creatures intermittently that science said couldn't exist, but now we know to be real regular creatures, like, the Komodo dragon or the gorilla, like I mentioned yesterday. And we went from there into my next favorite episode, or thing to study. I wouldn't say my favorite episode, but it is one of my favorite episodes, truthfully. It's time travel. The subject is time travel, and in that episode we actually broke down John Teeter's time machine and all the components you would need to build said time machine. That was a really fun episode. I enjoyed doing that one. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed doing that one. I'm looking back over the episodes, and I just can't believe how many we really have done. And they just go by so quickly. It doesn't even feel like we've been here a year. Our third episode was paranormal, or reincarnation, I'm sorry. I can't believe we did these episodes so far back, right? Reincarnation was our third episode. We're at episode 85, guys. 86, somewhere in there. 86, we're at episode 86. Our 1 year mark, and this was episode 3. We talked about reincarnation. Of course, we brought it up a couple more times. Funny enough, somebody I know yesterday asked me, hey, do you know any good shows on reincarnation? I've got some time, I want to look into it. So I sent her the link to my show, episode 3. Said, I hear this guy's pretty good. You might want to check him out. Funny enough, right? Then we went into paranormal technology and discussing how Lieutenant Major Corso or something like that. I probably got his rank all kind of wrong, but Corso wrote a book about his experiences with the technologies and how alien technologies became mainstream technologies without it being known that they were alien. Then we moved on from there to the skull experiment. If you have not looked into the skull experiment, I would definitely check that out. It is one of the most scrutinized paranormal experiments in all the history of paranormal study. Then after that, we went to one of my all-time favorite subjects, as you guys know, and that is, of course, the Mandela effect. And I learned something doing that episode. I used to get so frustrated when I would listen to radio show hosts, and they'd only go over like 3 or 4 of the regular, most well-known Mandela effect, and the old ones at that, and that was it. I learned why. Because there's not much time. You get to talking about Mandela effects, and you're only going to get time for 4 or 5. I actually learned that. But do check that episode out if you're interested in finding out what the Mandela effect is. The very base Mandela effect stuff. And just a couple weeks ago, we even did Mandela Effect Theory, followed that up. So I'm glad, because that was literally episode 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, episode 6 was the Mandela Effect. Then we went into D-Day, the day after disclosure, and what that may look like. And little did I know at the time that we would be this close to disclosure now, and actually having that in a government bill. Then after that episode, we moved on to mysterious ancient stones and the ancient structures all across the world. Then after that, we covered Edgar Cayce. That was a fun episode. It's not the episode you would think. It's not about his predictions, things like that. It's literally about the life and times of Edgar Cayce. So if you're interested in who the man was, not what he did, but who he actually was, check out my episode on that. That is a really good episode. Then we went into futurism. And what I was going to do at the time was every 10th episode, I was going to do an off-topic episode. That did not end up panning out, obviously. But that was my original plan, right, when I started doing this. Futurism was our next topic, and all the futurists back in the 50s and 60s that said how today would be. And then some of the futurists of today we went over, and what they say what we will be doing in the future. Then we went to another good old favorite topic of the paranormal studies, and that is, of course, the giants. We've definitely got an episode on giants. I can't believe, once again, all these episodes are way back in the beginning of the channel. I'm definitely going to have to bring some of these up to date. I can't believe that it's been that long since we talked about some of these subjects. It doesn't seem like it, you know? Then after that, we went to a really intriguing topic, a topic you don't hear very often, and that is schoolhouse UFOs. How many UFOs have been realized around schools? How many have been seen either landing or hovering or being around schools? Maybe it's something with the kids that we need to be concerned about. Why don't you check out that episode for more information on that. Then we followed that episode up, and I have lost my place here. Here we go. With phone calls from the other side. That's one thing I try to do on this show, is I try to bring topics that you don't hear all the time, or more specific topics, like phone calls from the other side. Of course, that is a kind of popular one, but Schoolhouse UFOs is not. After that, we talked about the missing 411 and David Paulides' work in the missing people all around the world. Man, dragons after that. I cannot believe, once again, it's been so long since we covered dragons. It doesn't seem like it was almost a year ago that we've covered some of these topics. After the dragons ones, we did something that was absolutely amazing. We did something that was next to impossible, which, for those that don't know, impossible is considered a dirty word here on this show. But the Schumann Resonance episode we did next, and something amazing happened. The day we did our Schumann Resonance episode, the Schumann Resonance flatlined. There was a strange phenomena that occurred. Some people said it was the machinery. Some people said it was the Schumann Resonance itself messing up. I don't know what happened, but the data graphs ever since then have been messed up, have had this funny little grid pattern in the background of them, and it flatlined for a couple days. I mean, it flatlined for a couple days. I've never seen the charts in all the years I've been watching them do what they did. And then all of a sudden, couple days later, it finally come back to a decent reading, but it had this funny pattern that is still in the Schumann Resonance pattern. So I don't know if I did it. I'm not going to sit here on radio and say, yep, I did that, but I will say that it just happened to coincide with the time that I happened to be doing the Schumann Resonance episode. Not planned, mind you, but that was one of the strangest things I think's ever correlated synchronistically with the show, is we did that episode, and then all of a sudden, down went the Schumann Resonance. It was really strange, because what was even stranger is we followed that up with the glitch in the Matrix episode, because we think we may have caused the glitch in the Matrix with the Schumann Resonance, of course. And then we moved on to directed energy weapons. That was back during the summertime, back when there were a couple fires in certain areas of the United States that it was thought could be caused by directed energy weapons. And I learned in that episode that directed energy weapons are really a thing. This is not a conspiracy theory. That's really a thing. And then we moved into the flight of the ancients. Did the ancients have flight like the Vimanas, right? The ancient Indian Sanskrit texts speak all the time about things like the Vimana and different flying craft that they had, as well as a number of other cultures who spoke of flying craft, even all the way back to the Sumerians. So perhaps in ancient times they had a lot more technology than we give them credit for. Hold on one moment. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of my Monster real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I had to wet that whistle a little bit. All right, moving on. We did 2-episode back-to-back feature. We did Moon Madness, followed by Mars Madness. And if I ever am able to get my book published, I actually wrote a book called Moon Madness. If I ever get that published, I'll let you guys know. It's like an 8th grade scholastic level. And what we talked about in those episodes were the different anomalies found on both the moon and Mars. And I know a lot of flat earthers think it's all fake. Understand, guys, when I do an episode, I am bringing you information. And this came up a little later also in another episode. I'm bringing you the information I've looked at and I've studied. Do I believe every bit of what I present? No, not at all. And I'll be the first to tell you. I believe about, I like how Pete over at Creepy Little Book says it, my buddy Pete. He says, I believe about 15% of everything I present. About 85% of the stuff I believe, I'm either on the fence or I'm not exactly, believing in it. But the 15% I do believe in is absolutely bat nuts crazy. So, yeah, I do believe in a lot of paranormal. It just, because I bring an episode to you doesn't necessarily mean I agree with or even believe what's being said. I'm really bringing them to you for your information. Like the one we did on January 28th, the psychic phenomenon. That was a fun episode to do also. Oh, that was this month, or this year. So let me go back. I thought, give me a moment here. I've lost my I'm on my YouTube channel for those that don't know. And I'm going through all the videos and I'm trying to make sure I go in order from the first video up to where we're at now. And yeah, I missed a whole page of videos there. All right. So, where are we at here? Live. That's back when we were doing them live. We were having a lot of issues doing them live on the channel, actually. Surprisingly enough. And the issues we were having is the internet was not wanting to help us even a little bit. Then we went into the Christmas shows, it looks like. We had a lot of good fun at Christmas here on the channel. We did some Christmas stories. If you're interested in that, those are on the DarkWolf's Den Show channel here. Let's see, the Christmas shows. That's what I'm looking for. We did a Christmas theme the whole month of December. We even did... okay, so some of these I did as shows. We even did the Charlie Brown Christmas show, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We did a Charlie Brown Christmas with the help of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole players. Shout out to all the Rippin' Rabbit Hole players. I am very, very busy right now, but I am trying to get that together to do another play, hopefully here in this summertime. Do another radio play here, like the old school radio plays, right? And then after December, after our Christmas episodes, we've got into 2021 already. And okay, so that was May to December of 2020. We covered all of those topics that we just mentioned in that short amount of time. And that's, again, when we were doing them one a week mostly. We only recently started doing the 2 a week ones. But it's been so fun to go and do all this research again. And of course, having a lot of knowledge myself about it already. But even I, as a 28-year paranormal researcher, have been able to find things out about these topics that even I didn't know. I thought I knew a lot about the paranormal, and I do know a lot about the paranormal. But since doing this radio show and going back and having to restudy these cases and reopen these case files and look back into these things, I'm actually learning a lot of stuff that I did not realize back then. So this has also helped me as a researcher. And one thing I wanted to do with this show, and I mentioned earlier, and I'll mention it again before we go to break here real quick, I want this show to be something that the seasoned paranormal veteran can listen to and get something out of, as well as the 12 or 13-year-old or even younger that literally just found the paranormal and is just hearing about these things for the first time. I want it to be just as informative to that person as it is the seasoned veteran. And that's not an easy task to do, but that's something that I try to do with this show. So some of the information we present may seem very bare bones and basic, but I want to make sure that we get through to this next generation of teenagers coming up and get through to these younger ones, to keep the research going, to keep the information going, to keep people interested and involved in these paranormal topics, in the magic of the world, and hopefully find a way in the end to explain some of this stuff in a fun, logical way. But we're not going to do that if we lose all our researchers and the generation of researchers now passes on. So that is one reason I do the show, and one reason this show is so very important is to try to help get the younger generation involved and invested in the paranormal. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, as you hear that music means it is time to go to break, so you sit back, relax, and we'll be right back with the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show after these messages. Over on YouTube, we're going to go over the rest of the weekend schedule. AJ, over to you on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we'll be right back after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
And that howl celebrates a 1-year birthday celebration for the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show. Jerry, I take my top hats off to you and honor and celebrate your 1-year anniversary right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. Amazing that you've been able to keep up the howl of paranormal for 1 year. Let me tell you, I hope there are many, many, many years to come as we dive down the rabbit holes and explore the Darkwolf's Den and the radio show that Jerry Hicks does. If you've appreciated him as much as I have in the last year, please put 100 in the chat room tonight for Jerry Hicks and his first annual DWD radio show birthday celebration. I feel like I should bake you a cake, and perhaps I'm going to come deliver it to you, Jerry. Either way, all jokes aside, seriously, top hats off, my friend. Mission accomplished. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Friday, May 14th, as we explore small towns. As you know, Nikki Rabbit and I are still on our road trip. We've got a little bit of a hiccup and a pause here in our hometown, Ripon, Wisconsin. But I can tell you, it is wonderful to be here. Actually, it's wonderful to be anywhere, but it's good to be here. Nikki and I will return back to Vegas after, I think, this weekend, but you never know. There is no set schedule other than this weekend, which, by the way, we're not able on the road to send out our weekly schedule. So the only way you're going to hear the schedule is if you tune in to halftimes, where we reveal it to you, because for some reason MailChimp has locked us out of our account, and the verification is only available on our Outlook email, which is on our PC. Apparently you can't get cloud access when you're away. So if anybody is wondering, where has my schedule been? That's the case. So tomorrow night, Friday, May 14th, I will return starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we explore the rabbit hole of small towns. Then Saturday night, come along with me as we dive through antiquing. Oh boy, we're going to play Antiquing Price is Right Saturday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we'll end out the weekend right together Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an exclusive look at organization. Now back to Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Show. You're listening to the Rip'n Common Sense Radio Network.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rip'n Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rip'n Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, May 13th, 2021. Our 1-year anniversary birthday celebration. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. And you don't know how much I do sincerely appreciate that tonight above all others. Because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we are discussing the birthday of the DarkWolf's Den Show. We're going over the last year, kind of a year in review type show, and all the fun we've had and all the different topics we've covered in the last year. We got up to the January of 2021. See, there's a couple things missing in there somewhere because we jumped from summer to January. I know I did a lot of Halloween episodes, very themed episodes. If you may or may not like those videos, because if you watch them, you know that Dark Wolf hosts those. Like the true gravelly voice Dark Wolf. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people found that quite scary and creepy. So Dark Wolf doesn't come out as often. Not that character anyway. I myself, Jerry, tend to stay on the mic more than Dark Wolf does, right? But then we went into November and we had the thankfulness theme, right? We kept it paranormal, but we had the whole thankfulness theme. And then in Christmas time, we had the Christmas themed episodes. So for 3 months, we did themed episodes. And that was lots of fun. I enjoy being able to do the themed episodes. Honestly, it makes the whole month easier because I know a theme to work off of, right? Because most of the time, I'm just choosing topics and trying to get topics that kind of go together in a weekend, right? But then we got into January. In January, I themed myself. It had no special month theme to it, but I continued the theming of the months, and we did the Consciousness series. And we started out the year with Rupert Sheldrake, and we're going to be touching back with Rupert all year long, and the 10 dogmas of science. And the first dogma that we really drilled down into was consciousness. The entire month of January, we discussed different versions of consciousness. But first, we laid out the groundwork with something called the Science Delusion. And this is the talk Rupert Sheldrake gave called The Science Delusion. One of the best talks I've heard probably ever. And it breaks down what I do on this show really well because I rail against scientism. That's another thing this show is known for. I cannot stand scientism. I love science. I love real science, real scientists. But I cannot stand those that practice science as a religion. That is scientism. That is what we rail against on this show. And, you know, the biggest difference between the two is a scientist will look at the evidence and accept the evidence no matter what it may be and make a conclusion logically off of that evidence. Those who practice scientism will look at the evidence. Well, first they'll create their conclusion, then they'll look at the evidence and figure out what doesn't fit their conclusion and make that disappear. That's not real science. That's scientism. And that is one thing we rail about on this show. And when we got into January, I seen that as my prime opportunity to really take my stand and explain why I rail against that so badly. And the Science Delusion was the great way to do that. And then we carried on from there into consciousness. So there's a lot of mysteries of consciousness. We had Chalmers on. We didn't have him on. We had these one of his talks we went through. And we had Rupert Sheldrake, and David Hoffman. And a couple of them we went over and their work and the different problems of consciousness. Like, why, if consciousness is supposed to only be in the brain, can I sense you staring at me with my head turned? There's things about consciousness that we just can't explain. And I could go on the rest of this episode and just get lost in that, right? We went over consciousness theories, parts 1 and 2. We went over near-death experiences, another amazing paranormal topic that skirts the spirituality line, right? That and out-of-body experiences, both of which I do believe in, to be clear. We covered the, so it was Science Delusion, and then OBEs, NDEs, out-of-bodies, and near-death. And then we covered consciousness in general, and then mind versus matter. That was a fun episode. Mind over matter. So, if you don't mind, it don't matter, right? But in all seriousness, mind over matter. Can the mind really have things like telekinesis and things that it can do more so than what we're told it can do, right? It's a really, really good possibility and a really intriguing thought. Let's see what else here. I'm trying to figure out. I'm kind of lost where I was here. So January is where that one ends. Then I need to go to the next page. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me just one moment. Okay, here we go. So in February... Nope, that was 2020. I still didn't click the right button. I'll get it figured out here in a minute. I appreciate you guys' patience. Okay, I know what I need to do. Okay. I am so sorry, guys. I know, I sound like a goof who don't know how to control a computer, right? Alright, so wow, it was that long ago. Then we covered psychic phenomenon. I thought that was a different banner I was looking at, but I was on the right page. So then we covered psychic phenomena to end out the month of January. So consciousness and you know, the different mysteries of consciousness, then how consciousness can reach outside the body, and then the psychic phenomena. So we kind of stepped up each episode, the different consciousness discussions. If you are interested in that, guys, definitely go check out our entire January catalog. That is really a fun catalog of episodes to listen to. And then we moved on to another fun little topic, and that is mermaids. In February, we covered mermaids for the first time. And I honestly believe that there's a really good possibility that merfolk could very, very much exist, believe it or not. I think merfolk are very, very real. And they're, you know, it's not above the concept. If you go back and listen to the episode, I explain how there's a really good scientific reason that it is quite possible. And then we went on to one of the also most important episodes we've ever done here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio or on the Darkwolf's Den Show. I would dare say the most important episode that we have ever done here on the network, and that is conspiracy theory and the absolute importance of conspiracy theorists in society. Because if you don't have people calling out the conspiracy theorist, conspiracies go forward. And what is a conspiracy? Two people conspire. If I conspire with My Life DIY to throw a birthday party for AJ in the backstage lounge, it's something good we're doing, but I'm still conspiring with her. I'm planning with her. That's all that means. So if somebody called you a conspiracy theorist, you're theorizing that somebody is planning something. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take that. Don't ever let anyone tell you as a derogatory term that conspiracy theorist is a bad thing or you're a conspiracy theorist. I am a proud conspiracy theorist because I know there are conspiracies. There are conspiracies everywhere. We hear them in the news all the time. People conspire to do this or conspire to do that. A conspiracy theorist is just a person that believes people are conspiring to do something. And the only reason that even came into effect as a derogatory term is to stop people from disagreeing with the government narrative of the JFK situation. Of course, we know how well that ended. Now it's become a derogatory term for anybody that disagrees with the mainstream. And let me tell you, we proudly disagree with lots of the mainstream. I'm not going to go into that, but let's just say if you heard it on the 6 o'clock news, it's probably a lie, and we probably disagree with it. And the next episode after Conspiracy Theorist, we talked to our buddy Pete from over the Creepy Little Book channel. That's right. Pete is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. We have been friends for years on YouTube. We've been back and forth on each other's shows. Great guy. He covers the same types of topics we do, but he does it every single night. I do good to do 2 episodes a week. I don't know how he talks about so much every night, but he does an amazing job, and I enjoyed the interview with him here. He had a great time here. We've got to have him back on to talk aliens. I told him we'd have him back on soon, and I can't believe this was back in February of this year that this occurred. That was 3 months ago. We're definitely going to have to get Pete back on sometime soon to come hang out with us some more and talk to us about aliens. Pete's a great guy. Like I said, Creepy Little Book channel on YouTube, guys. If you don't know, go check that out. He was over here on February the 10th. Yeah, February the 10th. Then on February the 11th, we talked about the Star Child skull, Darwin's downfall, and how the Star Child skull, if it's accepted as human, totally destroys Darwin's narrative, and if it's not, then it totally destroys the mainstream narrative of aliens. Either way, it destroys a narrative, right? So the Star Child skull, extremely intriguing episode. And after that, we went into Precognition, which is something that probably meant to be back in the consciousness series, to be truthful, but it's something that I should have covered earlier and I just hadn't gotten to yet. And it's amazing because there's so many topics that I've got still on my list. When we first started doing this show, I made a list, and what I did is I listed all the paranormal topics that I could think of to cover, and then people have over time suggested other topics. I figured by now my list would be empty, and I'd be straggling to try to find paranormal topics. I've still got a very long list of topics that we are yet to even touch on. So I cannot believe we've got stuff for the next couple years, guys. This show could last a long time. And with everybody's support out there, hopefully it will do just that. And then after Precognition in February, we went on to another amazing case file. We took a case file and made a whole episode out of it, and that is, of course, the Travis Walton case. That is another mind-boggling UFO case because it is one of the 2 most documented UFO cases, abduction cases, of all time. The second, of course, being the Betty and Barney Hill case, which is actually the first of all of the abduction cases, which is another phenomenon that I find supremely intriguing. And we covered that quite late on this show because instead of going into that in the next episode, we jumped topics and we went over to forbidden archaeology. Forbidden archaeology is interesting because that is anything that, once again, the mainstream archaeology says cannot exist. So that was a fun episode. Dang, I am actually running out of time. I can't believe this. Then we did Antarctica after that. Then we welcomed guest Nick Natoli to the episode. So Nick Natoli is actually on a rap show, kind of a reality show on TV. If you don't recognize the name, or if you do recognize the name, that's where you probably recognize it from. He contacted us and asked if we could have him on the show, which we were more than excited to do. He actually had some interesting paranormal stories. That was a really, really fun episode hanging out with him, so go check that out if you're interested in Nick Natoli's work. And as you guys know, we have a variety of music we like around here, from rap to rock to country, you name it. We don't like just one. We followed up the Nick Natoli episode with the Stone Spheres episode. My goodness, the music already. Then we did Rendlesham Forest and the Fermi Paradox. And then Musicians and UFOs, another excellent series we did. One of my favorite series so far here on the whole network. Musicians and UFOs, The Men in Black, Ormus, Psychic Pets and Pet Psychics, The Mandela Effect Theories, UPARTs, USOs, Unidentified Submerged Objects, The Third Man Factor, Free Will versus Determinism, another fun one, Time-Locked Events, one of my own concepts that I personally came up with. I suggest everybody go get that episode, share it everywhere in the community, let everyone know of the new theory. And then we covered Russian UFO files, alien abduction files last week, and then yesterday we covered Congo cryptids, and tonight, our 1-year celebration. Ladies and gentlemen, we went through the entire year's worth of episodes. I am so glad to have everybody here. It's been so fun. This, I'm sorry it wasn't more partyful, but it's definitely been fun. It's a year in review. I'm so glad to have every last one of you guys that listen every week. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, all you can do is take a little time to listen every week to 2 hours worth of case files. Apply a little common sense. And in the end, when it comes to the paranormal, ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. That's right. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode, this very special birthday episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Thursday, May 13th, 2021. So once again, whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. The den may be closing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only begun to kick off. That's right. Our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit will be back tomorrow, Thursday, May 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. I'm sorry, Friday. I can't even get my days straight anymore. Friday, May 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for a discussion on small towns. He traveled across the country to many small towns, and he was going to give us this update last week, but there were some technical issues. So I look forward to hearing about all the amazing little small towns that he's encountered along the way. I actually grew up in a really, really tiny small town. A gas station and a nursing home. You blink, you miss it. That's right. Palmyra, Tennessee. Shout out to you guys. I got anybody on Palmyra listening right now. Love all you guys out there. Saturday, May 15th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit will come back to the airwaves with a show about antiquing across the country. I'm sure he's had the ability to stop into many antique shops and check out their wares. So he'll be discussing antiquing on Saturday, May 15th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. That's right. But that isn't the end of the weekend. No. The weekend fun doesn't end until Sunday, May 15th. No, 14th, 15th, 16th. I can't even count anymore, right, guys? Sunday, May 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. I gotta say, real quick, it is really, really hard keeping up with these days when you're trying to do this. I have totally lost, and I'm a night guy anyway, I totally lose track of days, right? But Sunday, he'll be speaking about, AJ will be speaking about organization. Are you an organized person? I'm not. I am far from organized. I'm organized in my own way, right? Controlled chaos. Well, if you'd like to learn more about being organized, make sure you check out the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show Sunday, May 16th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And that's going to close it out for us here at the RippinRabbitHole.com and Rippin' Common Sense Radio. Speaking of the RippinRabbitHole.com, make sure you hop on over and sign up for our email list where you'll get an email once a week with all of the amazing topics we cover every week here on the network. And you can send that out to your friends, your family's friends, or your friends' family. Send it out to everyone you know and make sure they know about what's going on over here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. That's right. Also, while you're on the RippinRabbitHole.com, make sure you drop down the rabbit hole. That is our exclusive social media network. That's right. I love hanging out over there. No censorship, at least not to the good stuff. We can't have adult stuff over there. It is child rated, of course, but you can drop your information over there, and we won't do what the people over at Facebook and Twitter, you know the places I'm talking about. We're much better than they are. Anyway, make sure you drop down the rabbit hole and see if I'm right. Also, while you're over there, join the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right, that's where you're going to find me here in just a couple minutes right after the show, hanging out with the rest of the rabbits back there. And it is absolutely free, so come on back, drop in and hang out with us. We would love to see you back there, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, my name is Jerry Hicks, and on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, everyone at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, as well as Walt House for our amazing intros every week, Chick Mandela Effect for our intro music, the Wonderland song, as well as Michael Musco, who does the background music on that one. Also, big shout out here to Tom Baillies and the music you hear right now from Red Shed Studios. Man, he knows how to break that down. I love it. Get it, Tom? Oh, good music there, guys. If you need something custom made for your next project, check out Red Shed Studios. Information in the description below on YouTube. Anyway, I know on radio, I ain't got nothing below the radio, guys. Sorry. On YouTube, it's in the description box below. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Tom Baillies, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, all these folks, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah, that's right.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a way sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Just illusion, manifestation, or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion?